Record on this computer. Recording. How to make blocks. Hi, Joe Cerrone.
Al Rosen.
We're going to talk about blocks. And so when you make blocks, it creates a block and it's kept in the drawing itself in what's called the block table. And so the command is block make. It allows you to make a block. And so if I come back and I make a block, there's a few rules for it. The first rule is when you create a block, you're going to want to create that block on layer 0 when possible. Right, Al?
Most definitely.
And the reason we do that is because when we create a block on layer 0, it takes on the layers and the colors. And so if I come back here to my design center from Al from last week, and I want to put some furniture into the room. And so I'm going to come in here, I'm going to collapse the plumbing layer, and I'm going to expand the furniture layer. And one of the things that we might want to do would be, I was just thinking I want to put some grab bars in here, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay with what I was planning to doing was furniture. And so if I go to furniture and I want to, this is a hotel room, let's put a bed in there. Okay, so we can come in here. I can go and get a bed. Let's get a double bed. And all you do is drag and drop it into the room. Now, when I bring this into the room, I'm just going to drop it right here at this point. Might not be the best place for it. It goes into the scaling options. X scale 1, enter. Y scale, same as X, enter. And then we can usually rotate it. And so it'll give us 3 enters before we can place that. And I'm going to put it on layer 0. And so layer 0 right there. And it'll take on those layer properties. If I were to put it on a layer that was, let's say, this purple layer, and then I want to insert a block where let's say I'm going to get a chair. And so let's get this nice lounge chair here. And then I'm on this annotated node or this purple layer. And if that block was created on layer 0, it should come in as purple. And it didn't, because if I look at it, the quick properties is that layer, that chair was not created on layer 0, or it would have taken on those attributes. So I'm going to explode it, and then I'm going to make my own chair. I'm going to put it on layer 0. And then I'm going to make sure that the properties are all by layer. And that was the problem. It wasn't set up as by layer. Then when I make the block, under the Insert tab, I'm going to say Create Block. And I'm going to call it Joe's Chair. Base point, you want to use a base point that's actually on the object. And so we'll use pick point. If you don't use pick point, it's going to use the origin of the drawing as the 0 position. So we'll say pick point, and then I'll choose the midpoint back here. I'll get a little glyph of what that object looks like after I select the objects. I'll hit enter. Here's the glyph. You can put a description of it.
You want to retain it when you first start out doing.
And the reason we do that is why?
Because if for some reason you accidentally do the wrong thing, modify it, change it, you don't like it, you have something come back to it. It's right there.
So by saying retain, what it does is it keeps all the original geometry. So we'll say, okay, it'll create that block. And then when we insert a block, or we say insert, I should be able to get my last block, recent blocks. And here's Joe's chair. It's on my second monitor. And I can just go in and I can drop it into the drawing like that. If I were to go onto a different layer, and it should have come in purple, Al. I don't know why it's not coming in purple.
You put it as 0 layer.
Yeah, I thought I did. Anyway, it should have, if I would explode this, come in as layer as bilayer. It should have worked. I'm not sure why it didn't. We'll come back to that. But one of the things that we wanted to do was to be able to make a change to it. So let's say that here's our original chair, and we're just going to add a circle to it right here, like that. So that's the new chair design. It's got, you know, this cushion on it. I'll see if I can get it centered in there because it bothers me when it's not centered. Like that. All right, so that's my new chair design. So if I make the block again, where I say insert, create block, and then I go and I pull Joe's chair, and then I give it the same base point, and then I select the objects, and I'm going to see if I can, when I say okay to this, what it's going to do is it's going to say that I've already got a block with that name. Do you want to redefine it? So if I say yes, redefine the block, what that'll do is it will redefine the block that I have. I exploded this one, so it's no longer updated, but that's an example of why we use retain when we create blocks. All right, continuing on. So that's the make block command. And then W blocks, what a W block is it's a write block. It writes the block out as its own file. And that's a big thing when we start using content managers like Design Center. Design Center is essentially a tool that lets you copy all kinds of attributes or manage your content. So the guy who has the most furniture blocks wins because that gives you more things in your design elements that you can add. You want to have Al's Design Center because Al has done just a terrific job of this. Not only does he have furniture and plumbing in there, but he also has things like
cabinets, lamps, flowers, plants, whatever you need.
exactly. So everything is in here. So if I go into the plumbing and I say, you know what, somebody is going to rent this room and they have to have grab bars because they need some assistance getting in and out of the bathtub, I can go into the plumbing layer and then I can go in and I can find some of these accessories. And here's a towel bar. I wanted a grab bar. It's not exactly the same thing, but I think you know what I mean. I know Al has some in here somewhere. There they are. Why do you call them grab bars, Al? I could never find it when you call them the right stuff. So we'll put in a grab bar. Okay. We'll go and drag and drop this, and then we'll locate that right here. We'll scale it. And now we can get in and out of the bathtub. I think you have to have one over here. I don't know why, but it's sort of a vertical orientation. And so I don't know if I have that orientation, but I can get another one and I can put it in the sink area or in the bathtub area. Scale it 1 to 1. And then I rotate it 90 degrees. And that's that. So content is a big deal. And then these are W blocks. And so when we created these, we W blocked them out and then we put them into a master drawing called plumbing. And then it has all these drawings in it. That's the way you manage your content now. You have all these design elements, whether they're sinks, faucets, bathtubs, toilets, grab bars, that are part of your design repertoire. And then you use them as you work with it. And so a lot of times what I'll do with other teachers, I'll go to teacher training, is I'll trade some of my design work for their design work. And then that's always been kind of the way that I've worked with it. Okay, so when we work with a W block, it's really pretty much the same as creating a regular drawing. The only difference is it writes the file out to a DWG file type. And here's the insert command. When you insert blocks, you can see how that the insertion point is then determined by where we put that on. And then you can scale it in the X or the Y factor. We don't really work so much with annotative text. Annotative text will automatically adjust to the scale of the viewports. And we just don't do that in the introductory classes. It's kind of a difficult thing to work with if you've never worked with text to begin with. So we'll come to that in a different class. Design Center, this is awesome. When you work Design Center, first off, you want to use it for blocks, but you can also use it for all kinds of other things too. So if I created a new drawing and I wanted to populate the layers on that drawing. So for example, here's this drawing. And if I go to the home screen and I look at the layers, it's got about 10 or 12 different layers. Now, if I went and I downloaded a title block, I think you have one right here. And I open that. Now this one doesn't have all the layers on it. Okay, it's only got a few of them on it. And so what I could do here is in Design Center, I could go through and open that drawing and then drag and drop in all the different layers from it. And so this is on my, I have to keep an eye on where I have this. It's on my Toshiba Center. I think we'll come back to this because I want to leave it as Design Center. But what it does have the ability to do is it allows you to bring in other types of content, and you can just drag and drop the layers into the drawing and it will populate it. Autodesk Seek. Autodesk Seek is a content manager, and it was kind of their big thing. Let's see if it still exists because this was a while ago. And the idea was that you could use Autodesk Seek to be able to find all your content. And what they've really done is they've really turned it into a Revit content manager. And so Autodesk Seek still is out there, but Revit is like the next generation of CAD. It's prometric. Everything will update and adapt. And this web link is kind of broken, but some of the things with AutoCAD stick, other things don't. Autodesk Seek is one of those things that didn't quite seek. Now they have things like CAD symbols. And you can find just tons of AutoCAD symbols out there, where a lot of them you can purchase them now. So they'll give you some of them free, but then the other ones, they will start charging you $1, $10, $20. But there's all kinds of content out there that you can manage with the Design Center. Okay, so that wraps up our lecture about blocks. And I'm going to end this recording, and then we'll talk a little bit about attributes, and then we'll open things up for questions.